Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Curtis Hiramasa Nickerson Arima, and this is the 2022 BFA Conversations focusing on the Jewelry Metal Arts program. I'm excited to see the great presentations that our students have today. We have 4 students that are presenting. We have Yi Li, Shili Lau, also known as Sylvie, William Tseng, and Leran Wang. These 4 students are really spectacular, and we're going to hear a lot about their work. Before we begin, I'd like to read a land acknowledgement. And if you're not familiar with the land acknowledgement, it's a way to honor the original stewards of the places where we reside. So I want to acknowledge that we are all present in the places where we reside because of colonization and genocide of the indigenous peoples. I want to honor the Ramaytush Ohlone people, who are the original steward and inhabitants of Yelamu, also known as San Francisco, where we are broadcasting from at CCA. I want to recognize the Ohlone, Chochenyo, and Karken people in the places where I've lived in the Bay Area. I want us to consider our connection to the land, that the land is not to be thought of as a resource, but the source of everything. We are the land is us. We do not exist without the land, and I vow to respect and honor the land and its original stewards who have continuously lived upon this land since time immemorial. Our community opposes all forms of individualized and institutionalized racism towards all people, including the indigenous people, in which discrimination has occurred through the omission and silencing of their voices. I want to encourage us all to discover, respect, and honor the amazing indigenous people and cultures from the lands where you reside and the areas your ancestors occupied. One way you can find out a little bit more information is you can go to a website. It's www.native-land.ca, and you can discover the lands of the original people and their names and the traditional naming of the places where you live. So today we are joined by Puffy, Yingqi Zhao, also known as Puffy, and I'm going to introduce her. She is a respondent for us today. Hi, welcome, Puffy. She's going to respond to our wonderful students. And let me just give you a rundown of how the event's going to go today, too. So each student is going to present their work for about 10 minutes, and then Puffy and the student will have a conversation for 10 minutes as well. Unfortunately, we won't have time for audience responding. Maybe we'll see at the end if there's a few questions or affirmations that you can say towards the end of the event. But in the meantime, if you want to write anything in the chat, any congratulations or anything you at all want to put in the chat, it's a way to honor the students and archive some comments there too. So this will be recorded on our YouTube channel. So remember, if you do not want your video present in that recording, please turn it off. So Puffy, Yingqi Zhao, also known as Puffy, is a contemporary jeweler and the co-founder of Wan Li licensed jewelry brand and Wan Li Project Artist Platform. She holds an MFA in studio art with a concentration in metalsmithing and jewelry design from Indiana University in Bloomington. University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Zhao is a University of Illinois 2016 Bronze Tablet Scholar. Her work has been published in books, including Handouts from the 21st Century Part 3, and magazines, including the 2019 Jewelry and Metalsmithing Survey. Thank you so much for being here with us, Puffy.
Thank you, Curtis.
Yeah, you're so welcome. To introduce our first student, we have our longtime amazing faculty, Deb Logier.
Okay. All right. I'm so happy for all of you to be here, but okay. Yi Li is originally from Guangdong, China, moving to the United States to attend high school and then to CCA as a jewelry metal arts major where I had the pleasure of his presence as a student in my Jewelry Metal Arts 1 class. I love watching students develop through these 4 fleeting years. When I look back, I often see the grounded signs leading them on the path they were destined to take. From the beginning, it was obvious Yi was guided by a special, mysterious muse. Soft-spoken, focused, slow and methodical, a perfectionist from the start. He has fond memories of him and Leran learning the process of casting together. We helped each other. We were very nervous at every step, sometimes because the lid of the vacuum caster would not seal, or when it did, we had made too much investment and it all overflowed. We were racing against time, all to achieve our ideal casting. I am not too surprised to see his skill and passion now rooted in 3D modeling and cast pieces. No human is perfect enough to satisfy his obsession to surface, form, and sparkle. So he captures this fantastical perfection, an alternate reality, by using whatever means necessary. The result is a window into his imaginary world of Gothic drama and intrigue. In his words, a dark and delicate style made to serve special occasions rather than daily wear. Oops. He is currently in my Color on Metal course this semester, watching him take the simplicity of a red enamel circle, resting in the center of a green enameled square, evolve into a magical union in the kiln, in and out, sifting more enamel, repeat until it feels just right. Or etched cracks in a small square of copper. Is it etched deep enough? Maybe a little longer. Once satisfied with that detail, he fills the crevices with a transparent yellow gold. Is it brilliant enough? One more firing, and then perhaps yet another until it feels right. He transcends to another place when he works. Time stops. Perfection to behold. The slow, focused, methodical being we know as Yi is definitely worth the wait. Please join me in celebrating the impassioned work and journey of Yi Li.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deb.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm excited to see your presentation, Yi. Thank you.
My turn. Just going to share. See it? Yeah.
Your audio is a little bit lagging.
Oh, shit. Yeah, see it? What's wrong?
Great. We
Hi.
can see that fine. Sound is much better now.
Oh yeah, definitely much better.
Better now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Yi Li, and welcome to my BFA conversation. And I'm from Jewelry and Metal Arts. And this is my artist statement. And the main concept of my art is about the building in darkness. It's not about the negative. It's about being resilient and tolerance. Finding the beauty in the darkness requires allowing for insecurity, allowing for shattered self-perceptions, and allowing for the possibility of a new life in dark. It is like we are living in a huge dark manner. My works are like the mysterious things in this manner, bringing visitors different experience, challenges, or emotions. They are the beauty, they are like the glimmer in the darkness, not knowing when they will appear, but they will always guiding the way forward. This is the picture of my senior show. The first piece I'm going to talk about my senior show is called Butterfly Burial. I was inspired by a way of burial. It's called sky burial, which people feeding the eagle with the dead body. This really touched me and made me think about the relationship between death and life. So I create this piece and want to create a story that there are special insects in the manner that will lay their eggs on the dead body, then become butterflies. These are the display of them on the show. The second one is a brooch. It's called Daunting Complex. I was inspired and in this piece, I actually want to talk about hope. We all have like really low periods and we all have some confusion about life. I think the way out is to always remember what kind of life you want and who you want to be and what kind of relationship you want with your family and friends and partner. And it's the picture, some details and the display on the show. And the next one is I made this piece doing my Curtis class and I believe it's on junior year. It's called The Hourglass of Scent. I'm a perfume collector and every time I buy a new perfume, I will keep using it for a while. When I go back to smell the perfume I had used before, I find that the memory of that time comes up. The hourglass represents times and memory, and the branches, the flower, and the fruits here represents the different fragrance notes. Just some details and the display. Next one is also a ring. It's called Serpents of Desire. Personally, I really like snakes. I even got a Medusa tattoo on my back. And in many cultures, snakes also represents wisdom and desire. And I find that it interesting that you need to be wise enough to control your desire to use it as a motivation. Is the picture of my wearing it and display on the show. And next one is also a ring. It's called Dream Weaver. The inspiration behind this is when the pandemic started, I had a lot of dreams for a while, probably because I watch a lot of movie at the time and play a lot of video games. And I noticed that there was some connection happened between my dreams and there would be a continuation of my previous dreams. I felt that my dreams were like kind of interconnected, just like the spider webs. Yeah, and this is the picture that I took from the show. Here goes to my mask collection. There will be 3 masks that I made. And this one is called Insight, and it is a ring. And the horn growing out from the eye represents strength and power. As artists, we all what we have seen and what we have experienced contributes to our arts, and it's like the power from the eyes. And this is the second mask. It's called Stifle. It is a necklace, a pendant. It represents like I want to express a kind of feeling through this piece, a feeling of being restless and under pressure and wanting to escape, but still being calm on the outside. This is the display. The third mask is called Tear. It's a ring. It's also an expression of a feeling of being tear apart inside and having a part of myself taken away. At the same time, I feel that I'm not myself anymore, and I can't do anything to help. This is the actual piece and how it look on display on the show. This is one of the earring that I made. It's called Entanglement. It's also a representation of a feeling that like two people, like in a relationship, the closer we get, the more we push each other away. It's the right one. I made it in our casting class, and this is my handcraft one. The last, I believe, but not least, it's called Contending. It's also an earring, and I wanna use this piece to express a philosophy, or a feeling that I designed this piece with a scepter shape. Pardon, it's like a scepter shape, which represents power, and it has black and white. 2 colors means 2 people are fighting for powers. I think many relationship with our friend, family, or partner, we tend to be in a high position to control others, to make people treat us the way we want, without notice that can be really harmful and hurtful, and it may lead to toxic relationship, because love is about giving, not taking. That's all. This is the display, and then the actual piece. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If Puffy could join the conversation and respond with you, that would be great. That was fantastic.
Sure. Thank you so much. So first of all, congratulations, Yi, on completing such a great, amazing thesis body of work. There are a lot of points that I want to talk about because of, I can see how how much effort you put into selecting the subject matters for each of the piece in this series, and also how meticulously you polished and finished the surface for each piece, and also how the stones are set. And on top of that, you actually put a lot of effort into the installation as well. It's not only just about displaying the finished piece on a pedestal, as people usually tend to display their work. And instead, you choose to put them onto the furnitures that you selected. And there are different, I won't say it's almost beyond the idea of a pedestal, because everything is very much well protected. It's captured and closed off in this glass lid on top of each display. So definitely a lot of things that is very much thoughtful, and that can communicate with the audience with regard to the kind of effort and thoughts you put into the entire series. So to begin with, I think I would love to further discuss the subject matters or the symbolisms that are used in your work, because I can see you have a really great variety of visual vocabulary of the different kind of symbolism you use for your work, such as the compass, the hourglass, and also the mask and more. So I was curious to see what kind of factors help you decide which kind of subject matter to use for each piece. I know that you've talked about how in the dream piece, you think about your dream as the spider web, the spider web. So I was curious to see which part comes first, or is there like a specific way that you think about when you choose the specific subject matter to use, whether you decide on you want to depict a piece about dream first, and then you think about what kind of subject matter you want to be presented in its form, or is there any like symbolisms or subject matters that you are like interested in or obsessed with in your daily life, and you want to incorporate them and give them like a narrative? So I was curious to see which kind of way you usually think when you make your creative practice.
Usually, like, there are lots of elements around, like, in my life. Like, I can just sense like, it's like he's calling me. Like, I just get a connection with them, and I just feel they're like a strings, or just like a message they're sending to me. You just get it, and you just remember it, and maybe you have nothing like nothing like concept or anything at that time when you see the elements. But once you have a idea or anything like about it, or a concept come out, and you would automatically think about that thing. Does that make any sense? Like,
Yes, that definitely makes sense. I think it's more of coming from your like a mixture of your past experience and the way you do
yeah.
different things. So that definitely makes sense. And I think by looking at that aesthetic or that theme of beauty in the dark, it definitely reminds me of an artist who's called Julian de la Garza. I've always been seeing the newest work on Instagram on my feed lately as well. Julian uses a lot of like symbolism, such as like skull, like sword, and also uses like spider and more. And oftentimes they're combined with gemstones, and sometimes Julian uses like mechanisms. I know that in one of the recent work, there is like a casket. It's actually hinged, and once you open up the casket, you can see like a skull piece inside the casket.
Yeah.
So I think definitely that could be an artist that you might want to look up. And later on, I will be sharing all the names that I'll be mentioning with Curtis for sure, so that you can look up their work. And also another thing that came to my mind is that I was looking at your Downing compass piece, and I almost start to wonder whether there are any movements that could happen or potentially happen with that piece, because of the way they're stacked together. It almost made me want to think whether I can rotate any piece on the top section of the Downing compass piece. So I was hoping to see, are you ever interested in exploring like kinetic jewelry, like jewelry with movable parts?
Yeah. At the beginning, I was thinking maybe I could like just like a moment, like maybe I can make it like movable or like twistable, like I can turn it a little bit, but it's just really too hard for me to even design it. Like that's kind of like, yeah, it's not in my skill set. So, but I have thinking about it, and I think that's a really good idea. Yeah.
I think if you're ever interested in kinetic jewelry, one of the many artists that come to my mind would be Nash Queen. If you look up Nash Queen's website or Instagram, you can see there are tons of mechanisms that I would never imagine someone can actually fabricate it by hand. You can, there is like an umbrella opening mechanism that he just fabricated. And I know there are a lot of like hinged containers, lidded containers, and also different kind of mechanisms. So that could be definitely an artist to check out if you were ever interested in kinetic jewelry at all. And also Nash Queen uses a technique called chasing and repoussé. So when I was looking at the form that you created, I think that could be one of the techniques that may be an interesting alternative to casting if you were ever want to explore other techniques that could lead you to the same kind of visual language. And also another way, element that I wanted definitely to talk about is the way you display the pieces. And I believe that the installation method or all the components that you've chosen to use, they really ties all the pieces together along with your theme, Beauty in the Dark, because every single element that you chose to use for the display, I think they all come together to communicate that idea. And when I was thinking about the display, I think there was one piece, it was that Downing compass piece. Only the glass lid for that piece is broken. Would you mind sharing the kind of reason to choose to break that piece lid?
Actually, it was an accident. Yeah, but however, I actually like I was planned to put like broken mirrors into my show, but the problem is the broken mirror, you know, they have like the greenish, I don't know what is that on the back of the mirror, and it just doesn't look good on the table. It looks too modern, and it's like no, it's not like fitting the whole environment. So I decided not to use it. So I instead of using broken like mirrors, I used the burned out the feather, kind of create like the broken vibe. So so when I do the installation, I'm cleaning the lid, and it's so thin, so it just accidentally broke it to the whole pieces and one big large glass piece, and I was freaking out, but I think like they could actually fit like as a replacement to the mirror pieces. So I kind of like break to the big one piece into like even smaller pieces and put it there. Yeah,
I think sometimes, yeah, definitely. The accidents really lead to different levels and different layers of creations.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was thinking about out of the norm display and artists that come to my mind being Nick Dong, If you look up Nick Dong's work, you can see there are like floating objects with sound, with light. It's a whole experience instead of looking at one piece. And there was one time when I was sitting in the snack conference, listening to Nick Dong's lecture. Nick was talking about one of the pieces Nick's made. It's like a space, and there's like a chair-ish element in the center of that piece. And once you sit on top of that piece, there's like meditative sound or like very gothic or holy. It just gives you a lot of different kind of chills and a whole other level of experience. And I think that's one of the artists that I constantly think about when I've ever tried to like push out of my comfort zone to display any kind of artwork. So that would be definitely one of the artists to look at. And that would be all of my points so far. I think I've gone a little over time, but thank you so much for sharing, and congratulations on your successful BFA thesis body of work.
Great, thank you so much. Nick Dong is a great example, and he's local here, so maybe we can find a time where we can visit his studio here in Oakland and have a field trip over there. We can talk to him about that. He's friends with all of us, so thank you so much. Next up, we have Sylvie. I will begin introducing, and Marilyn will finish up the introduction before Sylvie begins. Shili Lau, we know as Sylvie. She uses she, her pronouns. And Sylvie was born and raised in Hubei, China. She began studying abroad in the United States at the age of 14 on the East Coast for 4 years in Savannah, Georgia, away from her family. Then she moved to the Bay Area for college here at California College of the Arts. I'm going to read a little bit of a quote that she wrote. The first year of study was inspiring and very encouraging until the pandemic hit. The summer of 2019 was depressing. No one knows what the future will hold. As an anxious individual, I knew online classes would not be good for my practice, so I reached out to professional craftsmen in China and was accepted as a jeweler apprentice at a private studio in Beijing, China, to learn traditional making skills from a third-generation Cantonese jeweler. I stayed there for a year doing remote learning. The Asian old school style training with very limited resources was intensive and unforgiving compared to my experience in the US and art school. However, it benefited my development as a craft artist and gave me the opportunity to continue my studio practice under professional guidance. With my technical skills honed, I was able to travel back to the US and continue work with a fresh mind and new abilities to produce art. From there, my mind transitioned from the sole focus of technical skills to a deeper dive into conceptual art.
Sylvie's work. Sylvie's work for her BFA exhibition focuses on the challenging experience of loved ones who are affected by Alzheimer's disease. She's honoring their and her experiences while trying to shift the energy of tragedy into something tangible and knowledgeable to dispel some of its power. And Sylvie, we are impressed with your ability to understand what your needs are and that you have the courage to seek out support to guide you through your learning journey. We also want to thank you for your support to the program during the pandemic. The access to specialized tools is a proprietary system in China, and Sylvie offered her help to students to access professional tools and supplies in China during online distance learning. This helped our students and program greatly. This ability for self-learning, self-sufficiency, and generosity will serve you well in your career. And we look forward to seeing your work and your art develop. We'd like to introduce Sylvie.
Hey, thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Marilyn. And hi, I'm Sylvie. And I'll be presenting shortly. Let me start sharing my screen. Okay, here. Can everybody see okay? Yes.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, great. Is my audio all right? Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything seems great.
I will start from here. And here's my artist statement, which is fairly long, but Curtis and Marilyn, they did a great job analyzing my ideas and my experience. So I will show this slide for approximately 30 seconds for you guys to briefly read through it, and we'll dive right into my works. So hopefully now everybody has an idea of what I'm doing and what my current body of work is about. And I will start with showing my jewelry metals one pieces. So I took jewelry metals one with Marilyn. It was quite an experience. It was right before the pandemic, which I feel lucky. And just looking back at the works that I used to make at the very beginning of my jewelry making practice, it's pretty nice. Just to give you an idea of where I started. And from here on my level 2 and 3 projects that I made during the pandemic. And this little closet is actually the very first piece that I made when the pandemic started and I was kicked back to China. And this little copper closet is designed to open on both sides. The concept is to compare and contrast the outer and inner beauty. When you open the decorative side, there's nothing but emptiness inside. If you open the plain side, you'll find a colorful inner world. And there's more angles and some process pictures. And here's my client project, which is based on my client Ermias, who's also in my class at the time, and his impression fountains for the old Oakland campus of CCA. So I organized the elements he mentioned, fountain in the distance and ivy on the wall, and in the form of a window frame to make a layered view in set moonstone. Also some other angles and my inspiration. These are the pictures from the old Oakland campus, just to give you guys an idea what it looks like. And here comes to my cultural identity project. So I got my inspiration from Chinese traditional architectural structure and lantern structure and put them into a earring. All the parts are fabricated separately and they're movable. and also some process work. And my inspiration pictures. And here comes my senior project. Like I mentioned in my statement, the main theme of my senior project is about Alzheimer's disease. And this is actually the first piece that I made. It's a fairly large sculptural display piece in the form of an open unfolded box and 3 eyes looking at different directions. They are the eye of the patient, the eye of the family, and the eye of an outsider to express 3 different feelings and the emotional message they convey. So in the same series, I also made wearable pieces. This is a brooch, and this is a necklace, also in the form of the box, and referring to the brokenness in abstract. And this piece is probably the largest piece that I've ever made during college. And the concept is one of the major symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. It's memory loss. And in this piece, I use butterflies as the symbol of memories building up from the ground. In the prime of life, the butterflies have the most colored volume. And as life goes towards the end and Alzheimer's starts to affect, the butterflies begin to lose their form and color and eventually fades away in the air. Here's some close-up of piece in the type of butterfly. And this piece is actually inspired by my high school homestay family. And the grandparents had Alzheimer's, and they both passed away during the pandemic. The grandfather was a Vietnam War veteran and loves to read about military history, especially United States related military history. And the grandmother loves to read about the Kennedy's bio. So I just choose 1 page from each book and etch the text on copper, then cut them apart to create a broken page in memory of the pair. Here's a close-up picture to show you guys the text on the metal and the texture. And outside of these projects, I also have a lot of stuff that I made outside class, just in my own interest or practice. And this is a mega ring that I made last semester. Our studio manager was so generous and he taught me basically the entire process. And big thank you to Russ, which is amazing. And Mokumegane is an Asian technique which you combine different kinds of metal and by twisting and cutting into the metal to create a wood-like pattern. It's very time consuming. And here's some progress pictures. And this sort of commercial set of crafty jewelry is a side project that I made for my craft school to market class last semester. In that class, we were learning about how to present ourselves to the public and make sales in the commercial world. And this is my very first wax carving and casting piece. So I carved the wax first by hand and then send it to cast, and it came out like that. And here's a custom design little necklace that I made for my friend's birthday. And a tooth pendant. another custom-made ring for my friend Annie. And also a custom-made ring with emerald. And thank you. That's all.
Thank you so much, Sylvie. Puffy can join the conversation. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Sylvie, on your thesis body of work. And I think one of the things that I definitely want to mention is that your level of craftsmanship that I can just see by looking at the images, it's really amazing. And the number of different techniques that you've explored throughout your years at CCA, I think it's really amazing as well, because you got to try out different metalsmithing techniques and see how you can use it towards your thesis body of work. So I think that is definitely something to learn and explore during the undergraduate study for sure. And when talking about technique, something that really caught my eye is the two sides, the closet hinged cabinets pieces that you made. And I know that some of them combines mother of pearl with copper. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about the techniques that you use to combine mother of pearl onto the copper surface?
Yeah. So the technique actually wasn't too hard, but the effect was great, which I was really satisfied. So the first thing is that after you finish the copper piece, like put patina on it and give it a nice smooth finish, you're just gonna take some courage to scrap the surface and make marks of where you're gonna put mother of pearl on top of it. I mean, it was really challenging for me because I was always afraid of ruining the surface because the hinges were really hard to make, and sanding and polishing that whole thing was just a pain for that scale. But I was glad that I did it, and it looked pretty nice at the end.
Yeah, I think the outcome, the result is definitely really amazing. And when I was looking at that series of closet pieces, I was thinking about artist Miki Asai's work. Miki Asai combines like eggshells, seashells, and also like mineral pigment, Japanese paper, and also Japanese lacquer on top of silver. I think not only the aesthetic is something that you might want to explore and look at, but also it's also the kind of technique I can see definitely like a connection when I saw your two sides piece. I think another thing to potentially explore would be whether you'd be interested in trying out alternative materials other than mother of pearl, something that you may found in nature, or it could be everyday object that specifically speak to you with regard to the concept you want to explore. And you can try this kind of technique to embed that specific material on top of the metal surface. So I think that's definitely one of the artists that come to my mind. And also, I was also looking at your thesis body of work, the piece called Brokenness. I've seen a lot of like fragments, elements, fragments of forms that are put together. And then not only they are very intricate and interesting by themselves, but also once you put them together, you can see a broader picture. Like once the fragments are combined together, you can see like a square, like another different form that's formed by those fragments. And I was hoping to see what kind of decisions or what kind of thinking process guide you to choose what kind of shapes or forms that you use for each broken fragments or pieces within each piece of work.
Okay, so specifically for the two wearable pieces that we were talking about, there were definitely a hard thought process while I was making it. Because once you made the base form of the little box, you kind of, well, it's a nice surface, and this problem runs along with my college life. It's like part of it is made and it looks so perfect at that stage that you don't want to do anything else to it. But sometimes you just gotta, well, take some courage and destroy it at first and fix it to the level of perfection. And the little squares, actually, I measured 1 millimeter off from each side. So the square is smaller than the base square when it's not cut apart. And when you cut apart, so you have a little space in between each piece to create that brokenness.
Mm-hmm. Definitely a lot of design thinking that needs to happen beforehand, before you even start the fabrication process. And when I was looking at those the brokenness series, or that specific pieces of work, I was thinking about artist Michael Nasheff. I was in SNAC conference, and also I think Michael presented in the ECU symposium a few years back as well. If you look up Michael Nasheff's website, there is documentation of Michael's solo show. It's called Functional Resilience. There are a lot of objects and artwork in that series that features objects that have broken elements. That's something that come to my mind when I was looking at your BFA thesis. Michael's way of communicating fragments or broken pieces and combining that into the body of work is that once Michael finishes building the piece in concrete, and also he uses other materials in other pieces as well, he will choose which section on that piece he wants to intentionally break after it's being polished, fabricated, poured, and finished up to its perfectness. He will intentionally break specific parts of the piece. And I think that's one way to think about fragments or broken pieces, and a way to a different kind of perspective to look at it, because the fragments could be something that's planned ahead, or it could also potentially be something that is planned after it's perfectly finished. So I think that is just some different perspectives to offer. And also something that really intrigues me is the broken book pages piece that you've made. It's a really larger scale installation piece, and I think it goes beyond the piece by itself, because it's a whole combination of the etched copper and also the text on top of them, and also when you install them onto the wall, how the light casts shadow onto the wall because of the way you arranged all the pieces. So I was thinking, what are the kind of thoughts when creating that piece, or what were your strategy coming up with this solution of installing this specific piece of work?
Okay, actually, yeah, there were a lot of thought process going on beforehand, and it's actually a saying: once you have a perfect edge, you have the texture and everything, and cutting it apart intentionally with a saw blade, and make sure they look good together and paper-like is pretty hard. And actually, after I cut them apart with a saw blade, I had to do some side finishes on each piece for the edges to make them look more paper-like instead of just pure metal.
I think the way you start to incorporate shadow or different kind of strategy to install those pieces together to be presented on the wall in the gallery, That reminds me of artist Melise Agabigum's work. So Melise's work, she has a specific piece called "When the Sun Rises, Sometimes It's Hard to Believe There Ever Was a Night." So that specific piece was a large-scale installation work, and you can see Melise uses weaved wire, and it's after she completed the form, she uses like fishing line to hang the weaved wire from the ceiling, and when the light cast on the weaved wire piece, you can see the shadow that's created from the piece. I think it's really very powerful when you are looking at both the object and also the shadow that it creates. So when I was looking at your Broken Book Pages piece, I was thinking about how the shadow could be a really powerful element to be included, to become even a part of the piece by itself. So definitely Melise's work could be a good reference to look at as well. And I think that would be all of the observations that I have for Sylvie's work. And again, congratulations on your thesis body of work, Sylvie.
Thank you, thank you. And last but not least, I would like to say something. I would like to say thank you to my family, friends, and professors, studio managers for your generous help, support during this difficult time. I could not have made all this without you guys.
Oh, thank you so much, Sylvie. Thank you for all your hard work and your fantastic show. So appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Puffy, too. Let's see. Oh, 1 second. I'm having some. Maybe Anna can help me unpin. I'm getting a little confused here.
You like right click or something?
Sure, what's going on?
I need to unpin Puffy from my. Is she still pinned?
Looks like she's not. Nobody is pinned right now.
Okay.
Maybe it's your view on the top.
It might just be my view. I'll just go forward. That's fine.
No worries. Here, now you're spotlit.
So next up, we have Wilium Tseng. He uses he, him pronouns, and he is a Taiwanese contemporary goldsmith based here in San Francisco, California. He's trained as an industrial designer, and he specializes using precious metals to translate daily objects into jewelry forms. His industrial design background gives him a unique perspective for creating wearable objects. In his BFA exhibition work, he uses the wearable objects of glasses as a metaphor to ask us to question about how and what we see in ourselves and in the world, helping us to see, confront, and reconsider our realities. He's dedicated to precision in fabrication, from the smallest scale of his work to the larger objects, where he uses silver, gold, gemstones, and found objects to consider the object's value. He's an adventurous person. While he discovers the world, his mind is constantly mapping out how to recreate an object in a metal arts piece. He wants his works to represent an aesthetic that is functionality. In addition to studying with us here at CCA, he is working with a wonderful team of people at Shibumi Gallery in Berkeley, and has worked with other extraordinary San Francisco Bay Area artists. Wilium, I want to highlight your technical curiosity. You're motivated by technical challenge, and it seems to find you seem to find joy in that problem solving. This curiosity will serve you well as you further your skills and designs. And I also want to congratulate you for moving through some of the challenges, particularly this last week. You had an incident, and I'm glad you're able to join us. So your presentation may be a little bit briefer than initially planned, but thank you so much for coming through and being here and presenting. I really look forward to seeing your presentation and also just seeing your work as it develops in the future in your career in the field. So welcome, William.
Thank you so much, Curtis. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen now. Okay. Okay, here we go. Everybody hear me good? Okay, here we go. Hi, it's William. Today we're gonna talk about spectacles. That's my topic. So let's start with me. So that's me before my pores start escaping. And big thanks to Curtis for introducing me. I'm gonna briefly go through my path to jewelry chronologically. Industrial design. I had always thought I'd be an industrial designer one day, and I'm pretty good at making functional prototypes. Here are some of my past works: armature for Lexus, cocktail mixers, and stereos, and etc. I even made this track bike within 4 weeks, but when I got into the industry, mouse and keyboard were pretty much all I could put my hands on. All my designs were mostly digital files. That was not what I was there for, so I quit. And I joined military for my gap year. I tried to rethink what I really wanted. And then it turned out jewelry is my answer. I wanted to get my hands dirty, because it's jewelry. My knowledge in industrial design not only helped me a lot in order of operations, it also gives me a different perspective, seeing problems and needs for me to solve and fulfill. I mostly work with wearable pieces. I always enjoy the satisfaction of an object that works exactly the way it's supposed to be. I believe that's part of my aesthetic. To me, a piece of jewelry is only completed when it's being worn or when it does its job. I work with leather too, and I translate that techniques into metal art as well, and in bigger scales. And this inspired me to work more with facial pieces like spectacles. That brings me to my topic, on spectacles. Yay, get excited. Okay, here's my artist statement. I'm gonna read it through. We put on spectacles to improve our vision, but we put on spectacles that block our mind. We filter the bright of others. We censor emotions to please. We see only profit, not purpose. We look too high up to see the beauty underneath. We hide behind and conceal feelings within. Greed. There was a time I only see jewelry as a way to make money. My creativity was blocked by profit. I cut a silver coin in half to make the lens and use chains to restrict the legs from going all the way open. Depression. Depression was kind of like a dark shade to me. It took away all the bright and joy from my vision. Yet, all the medication like the gold leaf around here I apply, it's just making it look better, but not brightening up my feelings. Arrogance. There was a time I was too proud to look down. I thought I know everything. In order to put this piece on your face, you'll need to lift your face up for it to balance on your nose. Intentionally letting people to see the gold underneath, basically flexing. That's arrogance. And a dangling eye that refuses to settle down. Hypocrite. I hide behind a mask that's stenciled my emotions. Only the golden beams can shine through, none of the red seep through. I stitched both masks to a silver frame with some gold wire, so the mask can just clamp on my face without additional straps. They were my spectacles, and now I'm ready to take them off and move on. That's it. Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you so much, William.
And support me here. And now let's do some Q&A. Shall we?
Thank you so much. If Puffy could join the conversation, that would be great.
Sure. So very much it was a first for me to imagine how a presentation could really incorporate graphic design. I think it was a really lovely experience for me to watch through all the presentations of your thesis body of work, and also how your previous experience as your as an industrial designer kind of had an impact on your current aesthetics within the jewelry and metalsmithing art field. So first of all, congratulations on completion of your thesis body of work. It's definitely a really amazing body of work with a really high level of craftsmanship. And also, I really like all the ideas, the planning that went behind each piece. And also, I think the overarching theme by itself, it's very inspiring. I think the way you look at each single word that you used for the title for each piece, and also how you visualize the word in your own way. I think that is something that is very interesting for me. And to begin with, I think your thesis body of work really pushes body adornment, or perhaps they're not meant to be even worn on the body. But I will save that for my question in just a little bit. I think the objects themselves, they really trigger emotions. And also, I think I would love to point out a few different perspectives. Who is the wearer for these objects, whether there ever is a wearer, and also I would love to further discuss about the material choices and the way you install the pieces. So something that I'm definitely curious to learn more about is, are those unspectacle objects meant to be worn on the body or by anyone?
To me, at this point of my life, they are meant to be taken off. They are a symbol of me moving on away from those, I call them dark times, the times I'm not happy. And now as I'm moving forward from CCA, I feel like those are my bad visions. I want to stay in my past and then move on from them. So they are meant to be taken off.
I think that is definitely a very interesting way to look at this, and to explain the meanings behind each piece. And every time I think about any kind of body of adornment or objects that alludes to the interaction with the human body, an artist that I always think about is Laura Kaufman. So Laura Kaufman, she uses a lot of really visual language that just belongs to her in her body of work. And every single object that she creates trigger a specific emotion or movements, or you would imagine how that piece would be worn on the body, would be interacted with the wearer. And I would definitely recommend looking up the series called Devices for Filling a Void that she created. They're all objects that interacts with the human body. And you can see when they're presented, you can see really large scale photographs of the piece being worn on the body. And you can see something that's fit into the model's the wearer's mouth, and that triggers saliva, and that is unusually too big to be even considered to be put into a specific body part on the wearer. So I think that would be definitely an artist that I constantly think about when I think of body adornment or object that triggers the thought of being worn on a body. And also, I was really curious about the material choices as well, because I think from your industrial designer background, you've had the chance to experiment and work with alternative materials other than metal. And I was curious to see whether you'd be interested in exploring more of alternative materials to be incorporated into our metal work in the future.
Yes, definitely. And also sometimes it's not I choose the material, it's I'm waiting for the material to kind of speaks to me. Like the mask here, it wasn't meant to be making a jewelry piece, but I just saw that medical material. I feel like that can be something I can bring the artistic part of that non-related material into a jewelry piece. So that's what inspired me. I don't pick the material. I wait for the material to tell me, hey, I want to be a jewelry. Can you make me happen? That's kind of how I choose my material.
I think the way you explained it really ties back into your artist statement. Everything is very poetic, and it's very much starting to sound like your artistic vocabulary or philosophy that is very much unique for you. And I think that is very much interesting. And there are a lot of artists who incorporates different materials with metal that I can think of. Someone that I definitely want to recommend is Juan Carlos Caballero Perez work. So Juan teaches at RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology. And if you look up Juan's website, there is a series called Symbolic. And in that specific series of work, Wang combines like fiber optics, nylon, like lava rock with metal. And I think there are a lot of pieces that depict like ritual process in that specific series of work. And I think for me, and I think it's like how you described it, Wilium. The process of choosing what kind of material to use is a ritual by itself. So I think that is one of the artists that come to mind if you ever want to explore more alternative materials outside metal. And also, lastly, I want to talk about the installation you use, because the way I thought about Huang's work, which I just mentioned before, is also because of the installation that you created for those pieces. It's very much ritual-like from my perspective. So I would love to ask the way you decide to use this specific installation and the reason behind including like photographs of the pieces behind the installation as well.
There's a very honest answer to that, because I was running out of time. So I made that decision to use wooden dowels to just assemble them and make them a pedestal. And it works like way better than I thought, like way better than my original design. So I feel like, yeah, that gives me the creepy feel I want to put on in the space. And also the pictures behind them, I kind of want the viewers to draw into the details I put in my pieces, but also not distracted by who's wearing the pieces or what's on the background or anything else that's a distraction. I want people to look at the photo and see, oh, there's that detail there. Can I find it on the pieces? So that kind of draws people into like, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that. So it's all focusing on my pieces and not getting distracted by the face behind it, anything else. I want the attention to be all on my pieces.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think the way like photographs or other elements other than the work and the pedestal form by itself, it can actually create a really great dynamic and power other than only by presenting the work itself. One of the artists that I can think of is Xuewen Yao. So in Xuewen's work, there is a piece that she created called Apple from Eden. And it's actually an object that looks like an apple form, but it's very much abstracted. It's actually made of feather that's cured in resin. And the way she photographed that piece is that she hung the piece in the center, and there are different hands from different people reaching, and someone's hand is touching that apple. So I think the way you photograph an object can really create a lot of tension and narratives other than just by providing like a still life portrait of that object by itself, but that is just something that could be interesting for you depending on what kind of way you want to document your piece and what kind of way you want to present them in the space along with the work. Again, thank you so much for sharing, Wilium, and congratulations on your successful thesis body of work.
Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining me, and yeah, just everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you, William. Thank you, Puffy. Up next, we have Leran. I'm going to introduce her. Leran Wang, she uses she, her pronouns. She's experienced both Chinese and American studies, which has given her the combination of solid basic skills and theoretical knowledge with the divergent thinking and creativity. She feels that basic theoretical knowledge is like a tool for her that enables her to better implement her ideas. She has an understanding of using ceramics greatly, and she has been painting since childhood. This informs her work with its sculptural movement and attention to negative space and composition. She combines abstraction with elaborate and ornate designs, and often uses 3D modeling to explore the possibilities of the structure of jewelry. In her work, she creates a story and an experience that helps the viewer enter her world, a world that discusses overcoming obstacles and regeneration after a decay. Leran started a jewelry company called Moonbank in China during the pandemic, and it's already had some early successes. This past summer, she's begun the process of starting a jewelry company in the US with a partner from the UK. She has the goals to extend her brand both in the US and the UK. For future plans, she wants to be a commercial jewelry designer and to be recognized by the public. She's applied for a fashion management program in the UK to help her achieve these goals. Leran, your ability to accomplish your short and long-term goals, combined with your artistic sensibility, your CAD skills and your hand skills, combined with your business strategy skills, will help you be successful in the next stages of your career. I look forward to seeing your presentation and your work and your business develop over the years. Welcome, Leran. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Leran, and here's my conversation. So, the theme of my exhibition is garden in rooms, and I believe there's kind of beauty that has been baptized by time and tempered by years. This kind of beauty is not the beauty of emptiness, but the story and power of the aftermath behind the appearance. I imagine there is a lost place. Buildings are weathered away, but plants growing widely. Creatures and fairies whispering day and night. There was a terrible war in a seemingly peaceful place, and everything here now is the aftermath of the disaster. Like rooms preserved on land as a testimony to past experiences, this beauty invites exploration of what has been experienced here, with mixed emotion of sadness and admiration. But romance in the rooms is not just an expression of despair, it's a reflection of having fought hard in its own time. This lost place reminds us that bad things happen all the time and nothing lasts forever, but try to keep ourselves alive and time will heal. We'll encounter a lot of pain in the process of recognizing this world. These pains may come from inner demands, spiritual unsatisfying, outer pressures, etc. This pain may be distracted and indelible to us at that moment, but we must persevere. Even if we are dragging out scarred body, we must come over it. When the victor's dawn, when the sun rises, fairies will appear, plants will grow, and life will flourish. We'll be reborn again with beauty and strength. These are my artist statement. And here are some pictures of the exhibition. So I create the whole environment of what I want to create in, and this is me on the right. And here are some more details of the exhibition. And I have 3 parts in the Garden of the Rooms. The first part is fairies. And this is the very first piece and where all my ideas started. So as Curtis said, I built up a company during the pandemic period in China. So this is the very first design. This can consider as a necklace or a body chain. It combined with 3 parts. You can look at the right side, the pictures. So the necklace and the butterfly body and the tail, so they can actually be separated. So there are so many ways to play with it. And the reason why it called the electronic butterfly is because it has a gap behind the butterfly body, so it can contain vape because it's a product for selling. And after this piece, I've just chasing the styles and all the feelings. So here comes to the second design. I continuously to use the butterfly element, and it is an ear clip. So when you wear this, you can actually look at a fairy's ear. And here's the third one, it's a headband. And I was inspired by Musha's painting, like all the girls are sitting in the middle of the flowers. Yes, just use all the plants to decorate them. And here's the fourth one, it's double rings. This one I originally made from David class. But for that one, we only have limited time. So when I have enough time to redesign it, I just make it like more complex and put more element on it. And here comes to the part 2. There are plants and creatures in the Garden of the Rooms. The first one is called Snake Whisper. It's also earrings. So it made by silver. And I make the finishing very white too. I want to make like the fantasy creatures, that feelings. And here's the second one. It's called Healing Armor. So it combines with 5 rings and a hand rings. This is the picture from the show. The plants are growing on the armor, trying to heal all the scars from the war, just like the bad experience we have experienced before. So like all the plants will heal. And here's the third part. It's called wind erosion. So this part is more like all the buildings and rooms inside the garden. So all the finishing of these parts is like natural oxidizations. So I wanna like mimic like wind erosions and tracing the times. And the rings on the left side are the same ring with this. And also the snake on the right side is the same snake of Snake Whisper. But I made this like 1 year before, so I have time to let it like natural oxidizations. So I make 2 sets. And here are more pictures, and you can see how it finishing different from the Snake Whisper before. Oh, and here's a detailed pictures of this rose ring on the right below. So it's 3 rings, it's a combination. So I can actually just take it off and play it around. So that will be all. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Leran. Puffy, if you can join the conversation, that would be great.
Sure. Congratulations on successfully starting your business, Leran, and also heading off to a great start with your study after your graduation from CCA, and also your successful BFA thesis body of work. So definitely a lot of things that I've noticed, not only how you incorporated CAD into your work, but also the way you use natural elements, subject matters, and also the craftsmanship for each piece of work. And not to mention how you use time as a material for your earrings, ring pieces that are framed in like the painting frame that we just saw. I think that idea is very interesting, to let time create the natural patina for your piece, and you can combine how the piece developed further from when it's first fabricated and finished and polished. So some of the things that I want to touch on being, I know that there are a lot of really delicate components and very intricate forms used in your not only your thesis body of work, but also the previous work that led to your thesis body. And I was hoping to see what kind of metalsmithing techniques that you've mainly used to create those pieces that combines the kind of natural subject matters.
I mostly use 3D modeling and casting.
I think casting definitely is one of the techniques that could really capture the organic form in its very realistic state. And I think CAD modeling and 3D printing is definitely something that could really help with the casting process, because everything could be very precise as it's built in the computer software, with compared with carving by hand that could lead to a little bit of a different result. So one of the artists that come to my mind is Wang. Dia graduated from I think RISD recently, and it was her previous work that I'm thinking about. She has a series called The Nature Beyond Nature. And in that specific thesis, in that specific body of work, she used like floral forms, like a cluster of flower forms. But instead of casting, she actually fabricated the flower using sheet metal. You can imagine the form being like flower petal shape that is simply just folded up, and they are joined in like a huge cluster and allude to the effect of a cluster of flower. So that is just one of the artists that I can think of uses techniques other than casting to create organic or natural form. Just some potential metalsmithing techniques to explore if you're ever interested in processes other than casting. And also, I was also hoping to ask, is casting your favorite metalsmithing techniques, or is there any other techniques that you've explored so far that you are particularly interested in, or perhaps exploring more in the future?
Oh yeah. So back to the question before. I wanna just do you remember the double ring? I said I have made one in David class before, and then I redesigned it. Yeah, for the David class, that one I fabricate the flowers. Yeah, and yes, so
Did
I
you
do.
enjoy the fabrication process?
I'm sorry.
Did you enjoy the fabrication process more than the casting, or is there like a favorite process among the
I
two?
like casting better. Yeah, because I like things be really straight dimensional, and I like negative spaces. So for me, I think 3D modeling or wax carving is better for me to achieve what I want to build. Because I don't know how to casting before I will see the second year. So at that time, I always have a lot of thinking that I want to build this and I want to make that, but I don't have enough ability to make them. So I only know how to fabricate them. So but after that, like after the pandemic period, I know how to do the 3D modeling, and I take the casting class, and I was like, wow, okay, this is my thing. Yes.
I think casting is definitely a really great way, especially if you're interested in 3D modeling. I think that is like a very natural process that comes after it. And I also think that if you're interested in 3D printing, perhaps in the future, if you were to ever be interested in exploring alternative materials to use for 3D printed work, I think there are 3D printed nylon and resin. That could be some material choices to explore that could give you different surface quality, and also the weight of the object could be lighter. That's just some possibility. You could even combine alternative material with the metal component. I think you can create a lot of different texture and transparency by using and introducing alternative materials. And also, when we were talking about how you are interested in volumetric form, an artist that come to my mind is Erica Bello. Erica Bello has a lot of, I think Erica has the own way of creating volumetric form. Some of it could be as simple as just doing sweat soldering. You can use like a really thick stock metal sheet and sweat solder them on top of each other to create really interesting form that uses natural subject matters in our daily life. And also another kind of technique Erica Bello used that's very interesting is that if you look at the Erica Bello's website, there is a section on the tab called Contemporary, and if you select form in the drop-down menu, you can see Erica actually created volumetric floral form by you could achieve that by either using casting or fabrication from sheet metal, but essentially the form is sheet metal that's arrayed and soldered, or it could be cast in one piece. So it's just a different way to look at volumetric form. It could allude to the same kind of volume without having that volumetric smooth surface, if that ever being something that you'd be interested in exploring. And another thing that come to my mind is the material choices. I know that you've incorporated like gemstones and combining them with metal pieces in your work. Would you mind sharing why did you choose to include gemstones in your work, and the color choices behind them? Because I think a lot of your pieces, they're really fairy-like. You really create like a sparkling fluid flowing effect using both the silver component and also the gemstone. So I was curious to see whether gemstone is a particular material that you're interested in.
Yeah, because first time I was thinking about use gemstone is for the product of the brand. So at that time, like I did a lot of like marketing research. I think a lot of designer brand in China, they just use some like very affordable materials like Sizhe and copper, but they just make the price very high. And for me, I don't want to do that. So all my pieces are very like complex and large. And I just want to think about like why and there's no one to use the gemstone. Like I know like gemstones with precious metal like palladium or even at least silver could be a good combination. But I just wondering like why is no one combine gemstone with copper? So I want to do the experiment. So yeah, and actually the gemstone like this size is not really expensive. So I just like kind of make the experiment. And for all the colors is because I was inspired by flowers a lot, and flowers and plants have a lot of like colorful things. So I just play with all the colors. So I usually use Procreate. So I just trying to match all the colors and see how they will look, and then I just to choose different colors to put on my jewelries. Yeah, and of course, like for CZ stones, they don't have like every color in the natural like gemstone. So sometimes I wanna, cause some of my work I use a moonstone or something like that. The CZ stone can never achieve the look of the moonstones or other gemstones. So just kind of like experimental things.
Mhm. I think the way you combine metal pieces with gemstones that and especially the not only the color palette but also the intricacy and also the visual language. One of the artists that I would want to recommend looking at would be Chong Ki Min. So Chong Ki, she actually uses like a lot of gemstones, but also gemstones that are not in like faceted form, because she uses like coral and also oyster shell and also some other alternative material, even like acrylic with film, to kind of mimic the texture and color palette of ocean and other subject matter. So I think that could be something that you might be interested in looking at, not only to see the kind of visual language she uses, but also the way different artists combine gemstones in their work, and or natural treasure forms like coral that is not in like a faceted form, and how they incorporate those kind of forms in their work, if that were to be something that you want to continue exploring, because there are definitely a lot of really valuable stones or natural forms that's created by the nature, and you may be interested in starting to push the boundary outside of oval or circular forms, if that's something that you'd ever be interested in. But yeah, I think those are the artists that I wanted to share with you. And again, congratulations, Leran, on your thesis body of work.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. That was really fantastic. It was so great to see everybody's work. Thank you, Puffy, so much for your great suggestions for all the students, as well as really amazing artist suggestions for everybody to look at. Thank you, Anna, for helping out behind the scenes, and the Fine Arts Office for making these possible. Thank you, Marilyn and Deb, for introducing our fantastic students. I want to just just close by reading a brief statement to my amazing seniors. The challenges that you've gone through have been really immense. And undergraduate education is really challenging at any time, but you've completed your education in a world that has changed forever. Our eyes are now open to how quickly normal can shift to surreal, and how multiple unimaginable things can become reality. It started long ago with the Bay Area fires. I remember in the Oakland studios when we had to evacuate because the air quality was so bad. We've gone through a 100-year pandemic. We've gone through social reckoning all across the states. We've been through online learning. We've been through hybrid learning. We've left the Oakland campus, the dear Oakland campus, and unified here in San Francisco. You've been through so much. You are fortunate in a certain sense because you've been able to experience so many of these different challenging things, but also exciting things. You know, you are the first graduating class here in the San Francisco as a unified campus, which is exciting. Reaching your goals are all about navigating desire, motivation, sacrifice, compromise, and learning from your experiences. And you've practiced this over and over again during your time here at CCA. These challenges have allowed you to gain the skills to be nimble and resilient, and you will be able to move through stumbling blocks in your life and in your work as you've proven this with your dedication through your work, and you've really channeled your feelings of anxiety and uncertainty into works that help you and us rethink and re-understand our emotions and build productive conversations through your artwork. Another essential part of working towards your goals is community, and building community is what you've done here. While you've been at CCA, the peers you've gained, the faculty support, the staff support, and the institutional support that you have here, those systems will continue to be here to support you. And please connect with all these systems that are available to you. You are part of the CCA community forever. You're part of the Jewelry Metal Arts family forever. Support each other through the next steps in your careers, and invite each other to shows, invite each other to exhibitions online, communicate with each other in any way you can, and with us. Know that you can continue to use me and all of the faculty here and staff here as a resource. As long as I'm alive, I'm here to help you guys out. So, email me or text me or whatever help you need, I'm always there for you. So I'm looking forward to seeing all your accomplishments in the careers that you have and the artwork that you make. And congratulations to you all. Thank you so much for your time here with us. So congratulations. Thank you all for showing up for the BFA exhibitions, or for those of you online just watching them on the YouTube channel. Thank you for watching, and congratulations to you all.
Yay.
So long.